Would an unknowledgeable volunteer like to come and explain what NoiseBridge is about? Cool. Grab the mic if you like,
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mr. Name, and welcome to NoiseBridge's 5 Minutes of Fame. This is the second one we've had in a long time, I think. Anyways, second one this year. NoiseBridge is a nonprofit 501c3 educational institution that's here to make hacking more accessible to the rest of the world. Let's see, what else can I tell you about NoiseBridge? We have a lot of really cool stuff. You're standing in the middle of the Hackatorium for anybody who's never been here. There are various designated spaces in NoiseBridge. There's a fabrication area with 3D printers and a vinyl cutter. There's a music section over there, a lounge. There's the dirty shop with wood stuff, and there's Sparkle Forge, which is kind of our metal shop. There's a few classrooms. There's a VR section. There's a lot of great stuff. Take the tour if you haven't yet. We have only one rule, and that rule is to be excellent to each other. Think of it like the golden rule. It's, treat others well. And we have a safe space policy. The safe space policy is essentially an anti-harassment policy. If you feel harassed, if you see harassment going on, if you suddenly realize that you are the harasser, stop it. Or ask the other person to stop it. If you feel uncomfortable doing that, you can ask for help. Reach out to other people, perhaps people who seem more experienced to you, and get some help, and we will help resolve the situation. Let's see, what else can I tell you about NoiseBridge? We've been in existence for 10 years. We've been in this space for over 7. Our lease ends in August. We're anxiously looking for a new building, and we would love for you to help us, either by contributing funds, donating a couple of $1 million to us, or stuffing some money into the cash box over there just to help us keep going. Over there where Daryl is pointing it out. We also have donate.noisebridge.net, a place where you can go and set up a recurring donation or donate to one of our many projects. And what else can I tell you? Okay, I think we've covered everything. Welcome back to 5MOF. Enjoy yourselves.
All right. Thank you, Mr. And once again, welcome to NoiseBridge. This is now 5 Minutes of Fame, held here every third Thursday at 8 o'clock. We're going to do a series of lightning talks. We'll do the first 4 or 5 talks and then take a break. And if a few of our speakers don't show up, it might be a slightly shorter evening. So we are going to, I'm X, by the way, and we're going to start off here with Lamina and Portable Power, and take it away. You want the mic? Or
Yeah, let me start off with a story from college. I was an electrical engineering student, and yeah, it was hard sometimes. You had these big projects, like I had to do at some point a full wave rectifier, like this AC DC converter for a laboratory class. And so I had classes during the day, so I decided like I got free by 6 p.m. or something. Then at that time I went to the lab and like started working on the practice, like putting together the circuit, taking measurements, starting the report. And so 2 hours in, a guy comes in and says, okay, the lab is closing. We close at 8 p.m. You guys just have to go somewhere else to work. So I was like, okay. Oh wait, so I forgot to. I was like that guy going to the lab. But yeah, then they told me to go somewhere else. So wait. Okay. I just. fuck. Yeah, so I ended up like like that guy. Sorry about that guy. So I ended up like that guy at my apartment, figuring out what to do for this project, and it was hard. It was challenging because you often don't have the tools that lab has, especially an oscilloscope and a power supply. An oscilloscope can be in the thousands of dollars. So as a student, you're just like you just can't get one because it's pretty expensive. So I figured that hardware can be so much better, and yeah, it can be changed just as smartphones evolve. Hardware tooling can evolve, and yeah, I have a power supply here. I mean, power supplies, I think, I think they look like something really old that hasn't been updated. The UI has been the same for a long time, so I figured we could make education way better and foster innovation and have even better products if we offer hardware makers like people here better tools. So, yeah, another thought that I've had is that computers nowadays are a pretty central part of our lives. We can see that when the internet goes down and like we all go crazy and what do we do now? Like we are just super bored. Like people can't live without internet nowadays. So and behind computers and the internet, there's hardware, and there were thousands of hours in the development of this hardware. Everything that's behind the screen and behind the keyboard, a lot of people worked really hard to get that, and so I believe that those people are also really important as, yeah, as any other, because they play a really important role in our lives. So yeah, I figured especially power supplies can be better, and I put together a demo of how they can be portable. So yeah, I don't want people to be locked into a wall adapter. It's like to just get power for their projects. I believe they should be able to work at the cafeteria or at the library or whatever they want to. So let me show you guys what I mean by this. So yeah, huh?
think you had it on the right. Yeah, there you go.
Uh, Here it is. So this is the project, and so you just plugged. I have a lipo battery, connected to the circuit board, and as you can see, there's a screen that shows how much voltage you're getting in the output. You can turn this encoder like up and down to get more or less voltage. And so yeah, this works currently with an Arduino. There's also a micro USB plug to charge the lipo battery. You charge the battery, then get power anywhere. It's getting amplified using it's an integrated circuit that amplifies voltage, and just gives you the same functionality that you have in a power supply, but in way more portable. And so yeah, you can see the size difference here. Like this is pretty big compared to this, and this is a proto board, which is pretty huge too compared to what the end product would be. So so yeah. What else? Yeah, there's the amplifying circuit, the microcontroller, the the encoder. You can just turn up and down. It can go up to 16 volts and down. So yeah, you can just regulate it with the encoder. And so another cool thing you can do is let me plug the battery. Okay, just 5 minutes. Yeah, so you can plug the battery and it'll start charging it. Question? Uh, it's a there's a LiPo battery. It's a battery charger. It's an amplifier, and it's a regulator. Like the amplifier, you can control the amplification via a microcontroller. So to get 5 volts, 9 volts, 7.5, 3 volts, whatever you want. Yeah. So yeah, it's just a portable version of the power supply that exists today. N- n- it's power in itself by the battery. So you don't need out the USB power. You just need it to charge the battery, and then you can just take it whatever you want.
Patrick, do you want to come and set up, and then we'll take more questions? Go ahead, keep taking questions.
So for the amps, I mean, I've been, that's a big challenge because of efficiency. I originally had it amplified to 25 volts and then regulated to the voltage I wanted, but that's not very efficient. The current you get at the output is very low, but you can get up to, it depends on the voltage. That's the best answer. 0 to 7 volts, you can get probably like 700 milliamps. Higher than that, you're gonna get way less. Like 15 volts, you're gonna get 300, 200, because it's a power conversion, like power gets conserved. So the higher voltage, the lower current you're gonna get. Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of power, the battery can give you 7.4 watts, but in the efficiency is gonna be about 80%. So 5 watts, yeah, around.
Thank you.
All right.
Up next is Patrick and Mark. You're on deck, followed by Henry.
Awesome. Thank you for that presentation. Changing subjects by quite a bit. This is a very NoiseBridge proposal. We're the day after Valentine's Day, so I figured I would do something thematic for this thing. So I've been meaning to propose for a long time to my current girlfriend, and I had an idea while I was eating breakfast a couple of weeks ago. Why don't I do a treasure hunt that's like very DIY and that's like very like kind of fits with some of the things that we've worked on together, and it actually involves NoiseBridge at a certain point. So I kind of wanted to present to you the results. Here it is. So basically, started out at home and moved on to a couple of different places out in the Beauce Triangle, and eventually to NoiseBridge, which is point number 4. Made our way to Bernal Heights and finished it up in Buena Vista and in Corona Heights. So started the day. Oh yeah, so that required, so by the way, preparing a treasure hunt is really, it takes a very long time. That's a thing that I've learned. So for every clue, like prepare like a good like 4 to 6 hours for the preparation of each clue. So basically I spent maybe 10 days just like going around San Francisco and like figuring out how I would place the clues and everything. So this is the result of a couple of days before where I was printing these clues. The first one was placed next to our plants, because I know that that's the very first thing that she does in the morning is check out the plants, and it was placed inside of this little Advil bottle right here. So inside this bottle was the first set of hints, which I had to print out very, very small. And I printed out some tokens, as you can see. I laser cut some tokens, as you can see. They could be exchanged for hints if she ever got stuck, and laid out some ground rules because, as you can imagine, you know, a treasure hunt can potentially be very stressful. So the first hint ended at a bakery that she really enjoys, and inside of a drawer desk on a table in at that bakery was this card, which is one of the best cards that I've seen. And continued onwards with a photo hunt. Yeah, as you can see, she's very happy. So here's a photo hunt, picture of Jeff Goldblum, same picture of Jeff Goldblum every day, making an appearance right here. So actually, a friend of mine was the person behind the curtain that she was supposed to take the images to. So Burner app will create a fake number for you that's like a burner number, yeah, for like $5 a month. So quick hint there. She did recognize who it was, however, because he spoke exactly the way that he speaks in real life. So thanks to my friend Justin. The next one is actually interactive. So the hint that she found in here, there was a box on top of this on this arch, and inside it said, "Up a series of colored stairs, you will find a spaceship where where nocturnal beings speak strange tongues. Say these secret words, and you will find the hints." And the secret words were git clone some repo, cd into the folder, and python clue.py. As you can see, if you do that, if you turn around for a second, turn around. So yeah. It works with the good old Flash and Taschen. So it says D5 75 cents, which I don't know if any of you folks have any idea what it does. Anybody can take a guess? Yeah, exactly. It's the vending machine. So inside the vending machine, there's actually still two clues on D5 inside the vending machine right now. And yeah. Because I made sure that there were 3 of them, because I figured, hey, maybe somebody's going to try and get this Altoids box. For 75 cents, it's a good deal. Anyway, she was very happy to find it, and many other clues, blah, 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 and treasure map, puzzle box, etc. So the endpoint, sorry, I'm running out of time. The endpoint was a kite. Inside of a treasure box, inside of Buena Vista Park, there was a kite, and I told her, well, you know, go fly this kite where there's a lot of wind, which is on the top of Corona Heights Park. This is a photo that Google Photos made, just stitched 3 photos together. I think it's awesome. As you can see, this little butterfly kite. Now, at this point, between hint 6 and 7, I'd left. You know, I told her, like, do the rest on your own. And I came back with a suit and tie, and she could not figure out what was going on at that point. She was like, "I want to fly this kite. You look nice, by the way." So anyways, I got down on my hands and knees, and you know, I told her that I wanted to have lots of fun adventures like that, and she said yes. So that's my story. Oh, she's right here, by the way. Yes. Oh, so the key thing about the bakery is that I left an envelope inside of the terrace, like in the back, in a particular spot, and I knew that people would see it, so I left a note on there that said, "Please do not take this hint. It's for a treasure hunt. Like, leave it there until a certain time." And when she got there, actually, like, the guy was like, "I think you might have left something here," because there was a guy sitting at a table. So, like, clearly he had found the hint. But yeah, very important. Always leave a note. well, you can always ask me questions later.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna do one more talk, and then we'll do a quick break so y'all can grab another beer or whatever you need to. Are we ready to go here? All right, take it away.
Thank you.
Go.
Oh.
All right,
Sound like
almost. All right.
there we go. All right.
And here's Mark and his restful robots.
All right. Hello, Nosebridge. I'm Mark. I'm working on a robot, and I wanted to talk about robot software. This is the robot I'm working on. It's called Birdhouse. Hi there. This is the robot I'm working on. It's called Birdhouse, and Birdhouse is a remote launch pad for drones. Is that working now? Okay. So it's a remote launch pad for drones. Basically, it takes a consumer drone, wraps it in a lot of automation so that when your drones are at rest, it acts like a recharging shelter. And then when you want to fly, it opens up into a launch pad, and you can launch your drone, fly it around, and re-land. And it has a bunch of telepresence sensors on it so that you can actually do this remotely. So you're actually in your house. Your drone lives outside in Birdhouse in your backyard or on your roof. So it's basically, it turns your drone into a service. Now, I just reached a point where I'm adding motors to this, so what's the software and what's the hardware that actually can make that happen? So basically what I'm going to talk about is it's standard maker hardware and a bunch of open source software. So you could actually use this same stack, the same hardware. It's basically standard maker stuff, so Raspberry Pi, master, microcontroller slaves running motors and lights, and then a mobile app running on iOS right now. And you get so this stack, and it's open source software on the Raspberry Pi, which is I'm going to focus on. Now you can use this stack to run pretty much any robot. It'll scale down if you want to run a little like RC tank, or you could scale this up to automate like a giant farm with thousands of plants. It'll actually work in both of those contexts. And actually, both of those systems, they would all present as one robot, one virtual robot. Okay, so regardless of the robot, robots, for something to be called a robot, it's got to do this robotic thing, which is called an event loop. And an event loop is, when a robot goes off on its own and it's kind of navigating or doing this robotic thing, this is an event loop. And this is an important design pattern in robotics, right? So, and it consists of three parts. First, the robot needs to read the world through sensors. Secondly, it needs to interpret all that sensor data into a motion plan, a reactive motion plan. And then third, it has to execute that motion plan. So it blinks lights or it moves motors or whatever to change the state of the robot to kind of realign with the world. And very importantly, the third step, running the motion plan. This is where things get tricky in robots because the motion plan can't block the event loop. The robot needs to keep sensing the world. It needs to keep reacting to the world. It has to stay reactive and keep up. So it's very, very important that the motion plan runs in the background, runs asynchronously. So that's a lot of the secret sauce that's in here that we're trying to implement. So I'm going to go through the software stack on the right. I'm going to focus on just what's running in the Raspberry Pi. I'm going to go down, talk about sort of what the software is, and then I'll kind of do a walkthrough of sort of one loop iteration so you can see how it plays out in the stack. At the top of the stack, we've got just a web server. So Nginx and WSGI they're a web server. I won't say any more about that. They pass HTTP and REST calls down to Django. So this is a Python stack. And by the way, this is kind of agnostic. If you're a JavaScript person, you can rip out the Django stuff and put Node.js in there or whatever you want. These other sort of design patterns will still play through. It passes through to Django. Django is a couple of things. First of all, Django is a web framework for building dynamic applications with Python. But it's also a generic Python app container. So in my case, I'm running two additional apps. One is this Django REST framework, or DRF, and that implements a REST protocol. And then another application is Django Channels, or Q. I'm actually evaluating both, and I'm running them in parallel. I'm just going to say Django Channels. Django Channels allows you to run your own private pool of worker processes. And in my case, these workers are actually dedicated to running the motors. So I've got one worker process provisioned for running a motor. I've got another that's running the lights, another one that's running the sensors. Okay. And then if you look at these yellow dots, the yellow dots represent something called 0MQ. 0MQ is a really magic bit of software. I could spend 2 hours on 0MQ alone. But it's an asynchronous message bus. And what that means is you give it a message, and it will deliver the message in the background, but it returns to the foreground immediately. And I mean really fast. 0MQ can process tens of thousands of messages in a second. It's super, super fast and amazing. And that's the kind of secret sauce of how this system is asynchronous. Okay, so how does this work in my event loop? Okay, so the first part of an event loop, like I said, is you read the sensors. In my case, I'm slaved to a drone that's flying. So I go into event loop when you're flying. So when you're off flying, I'm keeping track of the drone. I'm actually getting a telemetry stream from the drone, and that comes into here as a series of REST calls coming in right here. So that's the first part. I read the sensors. So they're not really my sensors. I'm reading the sensors from the drone. Now, the next thing is I have to interpret that. So that sensor data comes in to a REST endpoint, and that's where my logic is. So I look at the data, and I say, do I need to re-aim the camera at the drone? Do I need to open or close because I've passed a geofence going out, or I've passed a geofence coming in and I have to open the flight deck to accept the landing? So if that's the case, I decompose that REST request into a set of 0MQ messages, and I dump them onto the 0MQ bus. And those messages then, it returns immediately, returns up to the REST API, and that's how my event loop stays fast. So the request comes in, hits the bus real fast, and then I go back to my event loop. The messages then propagate over to the worker threads, and this is a microservice architecture basically. Each one of these threads has its own addressable endpoint on the web service framework. And then inside the worker, it'll either hit a virtual driver or a real driver if I have a motor. And the virtual and the real motors simply have to obey the same API as far as the microservice goes. And as long as you obey that, everything above there is okay. So I can actually, as long as you have this set up, I can do 95% of the Raspberry programming, and I can do 100% of the mobile app programming, whether I have hardware or not. So as I'm developing my hardware, I can develop the software as well. So there you go. So basically the idea is from the top, we're going high latency to low. A blocking call comes in. It gets decomposed into a bunch of asynchronous calls on 0MQ, propagates into the background threads, and plays out in the motors and everything. That's about it. Thanks a lot. I think I'm out of time.
We'll take a couple questions, and then we'll take a brief break. Any questions?
Did you really need DRF to decompose the incoming JSON or WSGI stream?
What I didn't have time for is actually the name of the talk is RESTful Robots. And the DRF part is actually, REST is the full REST protocol actually treats a resource, a RESTful resource, like it's a database table. So you can actually read or write or update or delete. So what I haven't shown is actually there's an abstraction that I wrote where you can actually interact using REST calls, and you treat Birdhouse, you treat the robot like it's a database table. So you read and write fields, and that changes the state of the robot, and then it responds like that. So, but it responds to a full RESTful interface, so it can integrate into other sort of RESTful resources in a bigger network. So if you had 1,000 birdhouses, they'd all kind of present as a kind of conventional RESTful resource. I hope so. I hope so. Yeah, that's the idea. I'm actually this is a startup, so I'm trying to get this bootstrapped. So I'm a sole bootstrapper and just trying to get it going. It's cool. It's Prezi, Prezi. Yeah, it's an online app. It's really easy, and it's the free version I'm using here. So. Those animations that you saw on my website, those are basically animated 3D models, and I could show you the one thing that I've motorized so far is the lift system. So I've actually got an elevator lift system which is now motorized, and that's where I'm adding motors. So I've kind of hit some mechanical engineering milestones. I started adding motors, and when you add motors, you have to add software. So that's how this all came about.
Where's your website?
It's flyingchair.co.
All right.
Thank you.
thanks. All right, so we're just going to take a few-minute break. If y'all don't know, the restrooms are all the way in the back. There's cold beer in the freezer, which is on top of the fridge there. And we'll reconvene here in just a few minutes while we set up. Thanks. Hey, Ruth. Yeah. Oh, and there's almond cookies. Thank you, Ruth.
When your heart belongs to a son of a gun, a shooting rifle, a firing range, I'm pistol whipped, I'll never be the same. But I love you. Yes, I
Also, if Sear is here or anybody that wants to do a last-minute presentation, please come up and see me.
When you hate the person that you've become, bitter, lonely, and isolated. Before I knew it, I'll be an old maid. But I love love, yes I do. Even though it's way it cripples you. And it rolls on. I never loved that other man. He's a fairy tale that I can't have. Now I know how a fairy tale feels. You wanna marry me? You say that I'm the real deal. And I just don't know how I got stuck. Yes, there's my soul memory for love. And if you try hard enough, you might we can roll on, but it's just no fun when your happiness is on the run. Jumping hurdles and life's 10K, it's a marathon, love's delay. The warm bed is as good as it gets. Let's settle down and have a couple of kids and do like your parents did. Or we can roll on, roll on, roll on, roll on.
Here comes the easy part, singing about a broken heart. I'm nodding yes to all your sighs. I'll stretch to any limit you rise. But I'm tired of waiting in the lobby. The long way keeps me up at night, but the comfort of not knowing feels nice. fights, but I'm tired of waiting in the lobby. Working it out, but I'm tired of waiting in the lobby. We're working it out. No one else out. No one. Sing about a broken heart. It isn't just an easy part. Hands out to the broken hearted boys. Hands out to the broken hearted girls. Hands out to the broken hearted boys. Hands out to the broken hearted girls. Hands out to the broken
All right, hello. This is your last chance. We've got wonderful homemade almond cookies and some trail mix up front here. So if you all want to grab some and find your seats, we're going to get going with the demonstration by Henner momentarily. All right, everybody, let's get going here with the second half of 5 Minutes of Fame. If everybody can find a seat.
Test, test. Hello. Everyone is sitting down. I see that. Yeah, almost. Okay. So I don't have any slides. He takes care of that. I don't have any slides. I will just show stuff. So I want to talk about fluorescence and phosphorescence and that it's cool. So fluorescence, probably everyone knows. So this is like a fluorescent thing, but it looks kind of boring. But if you put light on it that is UV, it actually lights up nicely. And so if you ever wondered how they check if money is like correct or if money is real, so they have like some fluorescent stuff in there that glows. But anyway, so that works by putting on higher energy stuff, which is short wavelengths, which is UV shorter wavelengths is higher energetic. Let's not talk about the quantum mechanics here, but essentially what happens is it's absorbed by something, and then it re-emits some light that is lower energy, whatever, something that is whatever, green or yellow or red or whatever. So that is fluorescent. So we switch it on, we see it, switch it off, it stops doing that. Then there's phosphorescence. Phosphorescence is pretty cool. It is, you shine light on it, and it, does a similar thing like fluorescent. But then you switch off the light, and it has stored this energy and just like slowly releases it. So over a longer period of time, you get it's still glowing. So so you have some material that is glow in the dark powder. And so if I shine this thing on, you see it still glows. That's pretty cool. And it's kind of like fun to play with it and then kind of like mess with it. So this is called strontium aluminate. So apparently there's strontium in it and aluminum. But there's also some other dotes of things in there which actually make it glow for a long time. So this stuff, if exposed with light, I can still see it after like 4 hours or so. So I mean, it's very dim, but it's actually pretty cool. So so this stuff comes in this powder. It's non-toxic. It's whatever. It's chemical inert. You could eat it. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. But so it's a bit boring in here. So what I did then is I'm like, okay, well, let's put it on some sheet of things. So it's actually pretty cool. Now you can actually see there's like little LEDs, like these little LEDs. You see as little dots here. So that is pretty cool. I tried various ways how to do that. So probably the best way would be to mix it with lacquer or some glue and then put it on. What I tried here is, the thing is, it doesn't dissolve in water or whatever. You can't just like dissolve in water and then paint it on paper. So what I did here is I just put it, like mix it with alcohol, which easily evaporates, and then put it flat and let essentially these particles sink down, and then dry, and then laminate the whole thing. But I probably should have just mixed it with PVA glue. Anyway, so that's pretty cool because now you can do. So this thing has a. You can paint with it by using some LED that is not as big as like this, but a smaller one. And so that's cool. That's fun. And what I then thought, okay, what if I had a big canvas doing that? So I sewed up a canvas that here at Noisebridge, actually, Ruth told me how to use the sewing machine and make the canvas to whatever, make the edges not whatever, rip up and whatever. But how do you put stuff on fabric? Because, well, I certainly can't laminate it really. PVA glue would also not be a good idea because it's stiff in the end. So I tried with various materials. So this is some kind of lacquer, and you still, so this is kind of left over, so this thing is still glowing. If I put a little LED inside, I could just make it look like some whatever atomic spill or something. But that stuff also gets stiff. So then I mixed it with silicone. Silicone is actually pretty cool. It's still soft afterwards, and you can just, I mean, it's you get in all kinds of colors. I use transparent, of course, and then mix this powder in. And so this is actually the leftover that's in the that was in the bucket. So now that is glowing nicely as well. So yeah, where's the canvas? Here's the canvas. Canvas. So that's fun. So I made it so it can go down so that you can actually reuse the whole thing. But why stop there? Of course, I should enter my password correctly. Damn it. Why stop there? If you could potentially just have LEDs behind it. So this is a row of LEDs of these kind of UV LEDs, and I have roughly like exactly 320 here in this row, so it's relatively tightly packed. And so now you can write stuff on it, and at home I'm using it to show the time, because the idea kind of started when I was once walking at night through my hallway. I'm like, what time is it? I have the stuff. What do I do? So yeah, this is how that idea essentially got sparked. You can do other stuff as well, because it's some random essentially graphical display, right? You can just like display your daily XKCD if you want it, right? So yeah, that's the kind of project that I wanted to show. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Henner. Morgan, you want to get set up? Good luck following this one. And any questions for Henner here in his crazy UV glow-in-the-dark printer on a cloth? Okay. Hey, Morgan, are you here? Yeah. You're up. I think everybody is speechless. That's the way to do it. All right. So next up here we have Captain Morgan just Morgan, and his colored buttons of awesomeness.
I'm here to talk about venture capitalism. Thank you very much.
Oh, excuse me, Your Highness.
Sorry. Hi. How's everyone doing tonight? We're gonna give a little bit of an unorthodox talk style here tonight. We're gonna start with a Q&A. So, question. What's this talk about? That is a fantastic question. That makes me think. I have a question myself. Can I get a show of hands? Who here in the audience has heard of colors? Great. Not quite as many as I had expected, but we'll keep going. Who here has used colors? Okay, that's good. Okay, now here's the really tough one. Who has picked a color? I like the enthusiasm. Okay. What if I were to tell you the next time you have your brilliant, world-disrupting idea? Change over the other tab. What if I told you to go along with your next greatest startup, that at the touch of a button, you could have the color to go along with it? Oh, I gotta close the app. It has an accompanying app. You ready? I am. A design so minimal that Steve Jobs would be trying to put a second button on it. I give you and 1 out of the 3 colors matched. Ladies and gentlemen, any colored button. Thank you very much.
All right, and apparently you already did the questions. So are you ready? You want to be ready? Yeah. Come on up and we'll get set up here. Ruth, you are up after this. And then Lucas, have you gone yet? I don't think you've gone yet. You're going to be after Ruth. So after this one. And you wanted Chromecast or AirPlay?
AirPlay. Hackatorium.
Ding, 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 ding. And you have audio.
What? Okay,
Is
cool.
that you? And then do you want to hold this? Or
I don't know. Can you guys hear me or what?
it'll help with the stream.
Yeah, all right, I guess not. Cool. So my name is Sarah Davis. I like to make science art exhibits that make you question reality and shit. So I'm just going to run through a bunch of my more recent stuff and, I don't know, try to talk about how I thought of it in the same tempo that all this shit's going to scroll by. Okay, here we go. So this is something that I did for a thing called the Last Festival, and these are just magnets that are rolling on these really shallow dishes. And the inductive coils are powering the magnet on the inside, and then the ones on the neighboring perimeter around it are just affecting the neighbors by just magnetic torque. And so I thought that was kind of a cool thing to have an assemblage of magnets that don't actually stick together, but just do their own thing independently, but are kind of loosely coupled and affecting each other. And shit, I don't know what else to say about this. Okay, yeah, cool. We go on to the next one. So this is, there's these two big ferrite magnets rotating on the inside of this glass. It's like one of those plant terrariums, actually. And then I have, I'm using these glass necklace beads because they're not very strong, and so they don't want to just snap together to their neighbors. And I attach it to silicone rubber wire, and it makes it kind of animal-like. It makes it jiggle around in ways that are animal-like. And this particular sculpture is called Fire Ants, and you can kind of see why. And again, there's kind of a magnetic torque thing going on, as especially the top magnet rolls over this other small magnet. If I had a pointer, I could point to one of those where it just is behaving in a way that's animalia. And so that was something that was interesting to me for a while. And then I decided that magnets are a big pain in the ass, and I moved on to something else. But I don't know what else to say about this. Okay, it's almost going to be done. And so I was kind of frustrated by magnets in the sense that nothing I could build could be big. And so I was messing around with electromagnets and various permutations and just kind of seeing how they behave. And so underneath this plate is actually an electromagnet that I'm just turning on and off. And I was trying to figure out how to constrain the magnets this is brass, so that part isn't ferrous, in such a way that it would behave in an unpredictable animal-like way. And this is the best I could come up with, but it's all really small scale. So this is an electromagnet, and I'm putting the magnetic beads, the not very strong ferrite type beads, which technically aren't ferrite anymore, by the way, but they're weak, and that's perfect on this electromagnet. So you can just kind of see what happens, how they behave in an animal-like, ant-like way, basically. And I'll just progressively add more ants, add more beads as the video goes on. Okay, I guess not. Okay, so this is this thing called water organ, and I'm actually showing this for the first Friday at Chabot for the Science of Sound. And basically these cans get turned into kind of moving speakers when they go over these inductive coils. It's kind of built on a similar theme, but now it's using water and so as it goes over the coil, it resonates with the tone of the coil. And there's 8 in this particular, 8 or 7 depending on when I built this, different tones. And then I'm basically flipping the direction of the coil, and that makes these cans pull in and out of in between these coils. And then there's a bunch of magnets underneath each of these cans, and that's what makes it resonate. And all the magnets are like all north or all south. I don't remember which, but that makes, I don't know if you've seen like on a YouTube video on the table, when they're all north or all south, they'll all repel each other on a horizontal surface. So that was kind of the first way that I could make a sculpture that was of decent size. And this is where it's at Chabot. So this is my first, not even large really, but not ridiculously small sculpture. And then the latest thing that I'm working on is this thing called Liquid Loom, where I stumbled on a couple of LCD panels that were being thrown away and figured out how I could use them as a tactile touch thing. So basically, if you create a high voltage, not even very high, but some kind of ionized source, and you get anywhere near these LCD panels, they'll make these cool patterns. And if you're grounding it with your finger, you set the path for where the liquid crystals turn. And then there's just a backlight on it. So there's no like backing electronics or anything. It's actually just the LCD panel stripped bare, and then I'm just sending plasma ions, however you want to describe it, at a distance, and that's not showing in this video. But yeah, so that's the latest thing I'm doing, and I guess that's it. Yep. Okay.
Fantastic. Any questions? And Ruth, if you want to do AV setup, Lucas, we'll go ahead and do yours next. But any questions for one in the back there?
Hey.
So I heard that First Fridays at Chabot Space and Science Center are super fun. When are you going to be there?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, Morgan. It's March the 2nd. We're doing a Science of Sound theme, and this is going to be showing there. And Chabot, really nice. It's like forest and stuff. It's a breath from all of this. Yeah, come.
All right, thanks so much. Lucas, are you ready? Are you here? Okay. And I have a free laptop to the highest bidder. Anybody? $1. $3? Can I get 3? Come on up, man. Oh, did you put it on the wiki? Yeah, I'll pull it up just 1 second if you want to go ahead and get started.
All right, so I'm just going to talk about the standard things of that. One of the things I'm interested in doing here is just figuring out how to package these thinking things. So bear with me while I figure out how to package these thoughts. There's not going to be anything too whizzy about it. But it's very possible that in 6 months you're still thinking about it. It may take a little while to be evident why it's useful. I don't care that much about the slides. I just made them on the bar. Okay, here we go. Okay, cool. I'm going to start the thing. Yeah. Should I ask you to turn it when you're ready? Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, so first slide. Okay, so this is a talk about burglary, which is a thing that is ubiquitous in the world, and we've all grown up with it. And I want to say that most of our thoughts in it are kind of primitive and childlike and extremely unevolved in a world where we've done a lot of thinking about lots of things that are more interesting but less consequential. And the point I'm going to make is that burglary is fundamentally a hacker's crime, and you, if you get burglarized, it's because you failed to prepare yourself to defend with your own hacker instincts. All right, so I think we skipped a slide. Did we skip a slide? Oh, I guess not. Maybe. Okay. Slide number 0. I got burglarized, and it was a very inspiring experience in its own way. I lost about $2,500 worth of stuff. It took me a lot of trouble to fix things up, but I was really inspired. Like I found a lot of interesting stuff in the process of defending myself. And the first thing I learned is it's really an information attack. This is where somebody thinks their way into your house and takes your stuff away from you without you being able to do anything about it. And everything that you go to find to defend yourself from burglary will not address that. You can't find any good books. You can find lots of people who have stuff to sell you that's useless and expensive. If you try to Google it, it's totally gamed out. You will get almost no useful information. It's all somebody with something useless and expensive to sell you. It's a mental crime. So, book recommendation number 1. On Amazon, I found a good book by an ex-cop. It's like this terrible, super low-budget ebook. But actually, he had something to say. And book number 2, there's a terrific book called Burglar's Guide to the City that helps you think the way that burglars do and to give you Well, I think we'll talk about that a little bit more. But most of all, just if you remember nothing else, go read. And I challenge you to find stuff to read that isn't bad and self-serving and won't actually harm you. Okay, next slide. Oh, sorry. So they got out of order. I got order robbed. All right. So, okay, you get robbed and you go to do something about your home security. And the first thing you need to ask yourself is, as with all security things, what's it worth? Right? Every hack has a value to the hacker or to the attacker and a cost to the defender. So you can actually figure out what it's worth to you. And this is kind of horrifying in a way because burglary is such an emotional crime. You're so scared, right? There's somebody in your house. And people will exploit you on your emotions for it. But really, it has a very hard and fast cost, and everybody knows it, even though they're scared and they do all these panicky things. Truthfully, it cost me about $2,500 worth of stuff. I lost a TV, a couple laptops, and so on. When you add it up, it had a real hard dollar cost. And you'll see how much people will spend to defend themselves. And it's right in that range. So think for yourself, what will it cost you to replace all the stuff that gets stolen? And that's a baseline for what you can spend to defend yourself. And if you stand to lose more than that, do nothing. Fortunately, I can cut to the chase on what you're going to learn in this talk. You're probably going to do nothing. And that is because nobody's going to steal more than you can afford to lose, right? I mean, that's kind of what you have to think about. What will it actually cost to repair the stuff they're going to steal from you? The cost of insecurity is real, but it's just nothing. All right, home security systems. Everybody wants to sell you a home security system, and probably when any of you have thought about home security, you've thought of it in terms of home security systems. So what do they cost you? Well, SimpliSafe is the cheapest one. It's this kind of home thing. But think about it. You need your home security system for life. You just get robbed this year, but you have to defend yourself every day, every week for the rest of your life. You can get robbed anytime until the day you are too old to have anything, unless you're too sick to be stolen from. And so the cost mounts up really, really quickly. ADT is just a total scam. They're not only evil, but their prices, you'll never make your money back on ADT. Like, they will always take you. You'll always lose money on ADT. But I can save you a lot of money on even the best of these systems. You will not set your system after about a year, and burglars know it. So there is very little deterrent value in any home security system, right? So there is one piece of deterrent value in a home security system. It gets the burglar out a little bit more quickly. All right. So I'm on slide 3. I'm going to try to get out to the end. This is such a half-assed talk that I can probably do it. Physical security is your best actual investment. It's super cheap. Fix your fence. Get a better window lock. I can talk about that. It's like $2. It's really valuable. It's worth more than $1,000 worth of stuff. I had one more slide. It doesn't really matter. Okay, for extra credit, 2 fun problems that are genuinely interesting. How can you actually make digital stuff like ADT that does protect your security? There's some real fun thinking and technology to be built there. But be deeply cynical about this, right? Don't fool yourself into thinking burglars are impressed with doodads. And then the last slide, for true extra credit, it doesn't really matter what's up there. The best defense is a good offense. And everybody knows digital things are extremely porous and attackable. How can you attack somebody's phone? How can you fingerprint their weight, their height, anything? Like, attacks are easier than defense in many cases, and there's a lot of really intriguing, fun hackery to be had there. That's it. Thanks for doing it. Take care. Okay. Yes, Mr. Sir. Who knows, and why not? And you can buy them on eBay, and burglars know you can buy them on eBay. I mean, they're just not at all impressed. But, maybe if your neighbors have it. All right, thanks.
Thanks so much. Yep. All right, we've got one more talk for you tonight. So up next is Ruth, and I will let her take it away.
Hi, everyone. How many of you have heard me rave about the Entrepreneur's Guide to Stone Product Manufacturing? At least one person. I'm often up here talking about the book. I've been really lucky this past month. I actually, through some lucky introductions, met the author of that book, and I've hired her to be my pattern maker. And I've just been learning so much cool stuff from her. So she wrote the book about how to, like, if you have a fashion design and you want to go and make it, like how that all works. And that's called The Entrepreneur's Guide to Sewn Product Manufacturing. She wrote that in like 97, but she's been blogging about everything to do with sewn product manufacturing like ever since. And so I learned something really cool from her this week. So I have a sweater and I'm trying to make it. And if you're going to have pre-orders for your sweater, you need to know what the sizes of your sweater is going to be, right? And so she explained to me to start with small, medium, and large, and then you can adjust the sizes as you find out how many people are the small, medium, large that you've set. So the way that through this, I found out why all the different brands have all different sizes. Like a small size at like different companies are just like totally different. And it's because of this chart over here. So this is a chart of your ideal size to amount ratio. And so the way that it works is that you want to have the smallest sizes have the same amounts as the largest sizes. And that's because when you actually go and you cut your fabric for like sewing in the factory, you have many, many layers of fabric, and then you have what's called a marker. So this is a marker. So these are all the different pattern pieces that are going to be sewn together for all the different sizes. And so your very smallest size and your very largest size fit together on the fabric. And so that's why you want to have your sizing like this. And that's why different brands have different sizes. It's because their target audience, whatever the median of size of their target audience is, that's like the medium size that they have. Yeah, does anyone have any questions? Yes, someone in the back there. So the idea is that the smallest size and the largest size are the same amounts. So you plot out all the people that buy your clothes, the sizes are gonna look from the smallest size to the largest size like this. So like most people are gonna be medium size, and then there's gonna be less and less people as you go to extra small and less people as you go to extra large. And so if you, so when you're cutting the fabric to make it the most efficient, you want the smallest sizes to fit, like the pieces to physically fit with the largest sizes to like most efficiently use your fabric as you're manufacturing the thing. That's right. Like if you have an extra large or like an extra large thing, you can only fit like one of them on the width of the fabric. But if you have an extra small, you can fit the extra large with the extra small together. Yeah.
Is that positioning done manually, or is that actually plotted by computer to do so?
It can be. It's usually done on a computer by a person. There are some programs that I think will try to do it for you, but usually the company that you do it with will like want to adjust it a little bit. Yeah. And was there another question back there? Yeah. I'm not quite sure.
I think the confusion lies in if you have, so say you take two medium sizes.
Yeah.
And you add them together to create one double medium. You can then take that one double medium and make one large and one small out of it.
Yeah, so your fabric comes in a fixed width. And the idea is that you're fitting all the pattern pieces on this fixed width. So if you have something that's like pretty big, you can't fit another thing that's pretty big. So you have to fit the bigger things with the smaller things. Yeah. Optimization. Any other problem? Any other questions? So there's lots of software that's involved in this whole like pattern making process. Like from you like have a design to the person has to like figure out how all the pieces are. Like they can there is a way to do it by hand, but I think most people nowadays would do it on a computer. And then once you have all the pieces on the computer, it's quite easy to like arrange them like this. Yeah. So I think that computers do a lot of the like they can give you a draft, like a first draft. But if you really, really want to optimize it, you gotta move it around yourself.
Great. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, that is this month's 5 Minutes of Fame. If we can get one more round of applause for all the fantastic talks this evening. And I hope to see all of you and your friends back here next month. It'll be March 15th, which is the day after Pi Day. So I think starting at 7, we'll have to have a pie leftover feast. So bring all your leftover pie next Thursday, and we'll be back here again. And in the meantime, if this is your first time and you haven't had a tour of the space, please find me or Mr. Name or any of the other folks wandering around that may or may not seem knowledgeable, and we'll be happy to show you the space and welcome you back anytime. So have a great night. Thanks.